Greetings, everyone. Thank you so much for checking in to listen to episode 2 of Close to the Bones, Women's Stories of Transformation. For those of you that listened to episode 1 with my mother Ekaterini, I want to share with you that we did a memorial ceremony here at Hearthground on the 8th of December. Along with my daughter Lilla, we paid our respects to the men and boys that perished through the massacre in our village in Greece during World War II 80 years ago. Today's interview is with beloved community elder Jacqueline Segal. Jackie, as she's fondly called, along with her amazing partner Profth, care for beautiful Darkinjung Darug land they call the Grove. The Grove is nestled to Webbs Creek in the Hawkesbury region of New South Wales and has been hosting community events for over 30 years. Once again, this story begins 80 years ago as a result of the same war, different location. I have divided this interview into 2 parts. The first one is at the Elders and Friends Camp at Lovefest at the end of 2023 on the 11th of the 11th, Armistice Day. It was right for both Jackie and I to begin this interview on that day, as this day is the activation point of her life story. I encourage you to continue to part 2, recorded at her home at the Grove, as Jackie shares so honestly and beautifully more of her personal story. And a little aside, Jackie was my supervisor during my counselling years. Like a set of Russian dolls, each story sits within another. From air raid shelters, learning difficulties, dyslexia, ADHD, karma journey, creating community, alternative lifestyle, dementia, cancer and loss. Kick back and enjoy the ride. Today's recording is happening at Castle Mountain at a gathering called Lovefest. And Lovefest is a gathering where a lot of people come together to express and be the best versions of themselves. And there's a lot of joy and dance and exchange and communion. And also what's really significant about today, it's that it's on the 11th of the 11th, which is Armistice Day. And I have here with me today Jacqueline Segal, who's the keeper of the Grove. Yeah, Jackie, so today being the 11 is a really significant day in your biography and in your life history. Do you want to just talk us through, tell us about that day, what that means for you?
I was 4 years old and I saw my father crying over a candle, which is like every year on a very significant day. And I said to Mummy, I'm 4, Mummy, why is Daddy crying? And Mummy said, oh, it's the anniversary of the tragedy. Mummy, what does tragedy mean? What's tragedy? And she said, 2 years ago, Daddy lived in London with a family. And the bombing started in London in 1943. And Daddy sent all his family to the country town, Leicester. And they went into an air raid shelter. And in the air raid shelter, Mummy said the doggy ran out. And the kid ran after the doggy. And the mummy ran after the kid. And the daddy ran after and the other kid ran after them. And they all got bombed.
They got bombed.
They all got bombed, one bomb. And Daddy, this is my mummy telling me the story, that Daddy found his mother, his sister, his wife and 2 little boys dead, all lying in a row. And Mummy told me that story. And I, 4 years old, looked at my little sister Val, who was 3, and I said to Val, promise me, and I'm shaking her. Val, promise me, we'll always look after Daddy, promise me. And she's nodding, yeah. So my life became looking after my daddy. So all I did then, and I split me at that moment, and all I did was look at his body language, look at people, make sure Daddy was safe. Daddy, carry me up the stairs. Daddy, do this for me. Daddy, and Daddy just was happy doing everything for me. I was 4 years old, distracting him in a way that he could serve me. And he spoilt me so much. Just a little by story. I married Profth, who's exactly like my dad, who's got red hair, a little red goatee, who spoils me rotten. Yeah.
So that's a really big story to carry for someone so young.
Yeah.
What year would that have been? Do you
That would have been, I was born 45 January, so given that I was 4 years older.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So even though the war had already happened, the effects of the war really had a very powerful and strong effect on you and
Yeah.
all of your life,
Well, it wasn't
actually.
finished because Mum and I'd go out and play in the street and there was just rubble. And Mummy said, look, if you hear ticking, don't stay on the rubble because it's not a clock. It's the unexploded bombs ticked. So we had to make sure. And my elocution to Miss V had her arm. I said, why has she only got one arm? I said, Mummy said her other arm was bombed. So she had an artificial hand which she always kept her hanky in. And people I just thought it was normal to look around the street and see people with one arm, one leg, on crutches. To me, that was normal life. I didn't know anything different.
So when you speak of the rubble, that rubble was as a result of bombings?
All the houses were bombed. Yeah.
And can you just say again where this was?
This was in London, in Stamford Hill, Tottenham, around that area. Yeah. Stamford Hill. Yeah. Oh, it really hurts me to even talk about this, And the 11/11 is the anniversary. They all got bombed in November. And Armistice Day is November. And it's all it's synchronised somehow to the memory,
Oh, yeah, of course. And I know that we've been talking about this interview for a while and we did attempt one day, but it feels really right to do this on the 11th of the 11th.
Yeah.
It feels like, really acknowledging that story fully and present for everyone to know about you, because you're quite an extraordinary community weaver and keeper of the grove, and the care that you give to others is quite extraordinary. And I believe that you accepted this, what would you call it, like a karmic quest as a child? You began to read their body language.
Well, I looked at my daddy's body language all the time.
Yeah.
With no story. So I got to see how people were.
What I wanted to say is that I've seen you at the Grove, at the gatherings when everybody comes together, and I see that you're kind of like, I describe it as this big spider who looks around at the web and your rotating head, and you know everything that's going on.
I can feel it.
You can sense it, you can pick it up, and what fundamentally lies behind that is your care and love of community, and you notice when there's like a disturbance in the force, so to speak.
Totally. Yeah, I can see the energy not okay. I can see when people are distraught, and I just know when I can go over to talk or whether I need to leave them alone. I can feel that energy, and if quite often they'll just look at me and I see tears, and when I see the crying, I go, what's your loss? And then I always go back to the 4-year-old because our grief started at 4 and then we build up after that. And I said, what happened to you at 4 years? Or quite often around the grove, around the fire. And they start crying. And I say, do you want to go away and talk? And they say, let's go away for a little chat. And they just tell me their whole story. And it's the most healing. They say, I've never told anybody this story before, but it happens over and over and over again. It's so powerful.
So the alchemy or the gold of that trauma is you've brought it in to create like a resonant space of empathy with others who need that healing themselves and can just have that story within themselves released and recognised so they can grow fully themselves.
But I don't really want people to know that I do this because I want to be part of the community. I want people to sit and relax with me, not thinking, oh, is Jackie reading my mind? I don't want that to happen.
No, I think you do that quite well. You're very good at deflecting and bringing a lot of humour.
That's my monkey humour.
Your monkey energy. You're renowned for your cheeky monkey energy. Wow, so I'm just thinking about, in a way, that playfulness or that spontaneity of a young 4-year-old, that experience, maybe, would you say, didn't happen for you? You were, a big burden of responsibility came upon you with the knowledge of that story.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a burden or responsibility.
It just was.
It just was what I did. It was just, no, I didn't know anything other than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it wasn't until that my mother's story that I realised, years later, that I got post-traumatic stress from that 4-year-old, but I didn't know that.
How do you think the post-traumatic stress, as you describe it, affects your life?
That's a really good question. Well, wherever I am, I'm watching people all the time, seeing if they're safe. Like even here, someone's broken down and I just go sit with them and someone say, oh, thank you for spending time with that person. It's like, I didn't know that I was doing anything other than seeing someone in pain and just sitting with them. It's huge.
It is huge.
Everybody's got something, and we're triggered now and again, and I'm observing people's triggers, but there's nobody without.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what I recognise, knowing you for, almost 30 years, I can see that you're permanently on.
Oh, really?
You're on. And, I can see your eyes, I can see your body language. And I think that can take its toll, because how do you...
ADHD?
Yes. So I see that your life with Profth at the Grove between gatherings must be your downtime, is it? How you getting into those rhythms and routines, caring for the Grove?
Profth. He looks after me. He cooks for me. He does everything. Whatever he puts on the floor, I pick up.
Yeah.
But we get on amazingly. It's just total love and acceptance, and I'm kind of watching him all the time, nagging him, and he's hoarding that. So we have these conflicts, but other than that, we just totally love, share. I say to him, what are we doing today? And he goes, oh, let's go saw down the tree today, or would you go on the ride on, or will you go on the tractor? And, so every day is like a mission out there to work, and that's what I love, to be busy all day.
Oh, God, yes, you've set a terrible bar for me.
I know. No, not a bindi. I say to the kids, you find a bindi, you get $1.
If I struggle and I'm tired and I can't lift a thing, I think, oh my God, Jackie would have lifted 10 of these things.
Yeah.
And how old are you now?
I was born 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Okay, the first
month.
Yes.
23rd day.
Yes.
45th year.
Okay.
Now, not bad for a dyslexic to choose that date. For 1945, I was born here, January.
Yeah, so
that, how old am I?
78. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I got it. Going up to 78. What a journey it's been on in the years that I've known you. I mean, I was with you at your 60th when you stepped into that beautiful labyrinth that was built at the Grove. But just going back to your life with Profth at the Grove and the work part, beyond the relationship in that way, what I'm actually seeing is that the two of you are in permanent service to that land.
Yeah.
And that comes from love.
Yeah.
And caring for the land and taking all the bindis out so that people that come to the Grove can have an incredible experience on the land.
The kids run around without shoes on, and and Profth just says, oh, what do we need to do today? And as we go down and we look after the Grove, and that's our mission. It's like people coming, getting prepared for them, making sure the toilets are clean, the hot water's on, the fans on. But there's cleaning the carpets, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's like, right, let's get ready for the, who's ever coming today. And every weekend, very few weekends. And every couple of weeks we go shopping. We buy all the food in Windsor that we need. And I go to Coogee sometimes to be with the grandkids.
Well, it's almost 30 years since we've been coming to the Grove, and what I really love is seeing this new generation of babies and children and teenagers. Now the next generation have the Grove in their memory.
Oh yeah,
which is a really beautiful thing. And to be holders and hosts, or I call them hearthkeepers, as you and Profth are on that land, and maintaining that land over all of those years through incredible floods and the
fires.
The awful fires that also came through, that you're back there, you're maintaining that kitchen once again, the outdoor kitchen. It's been rebuilt. But basically, bottom line is the beautiful memories, because ultimately that's all that there is. And I feel that what you do is, through your capacity of holding there, people are having experiences which are creating memories for them.
It's so funny, because when I walked in here, the little kids that go to the Grove ran up and screamed, Jackie, Jackie, Jackie. And it was like all these kids the memories of the Grove. When are we going to the Grove?
It's beautiful.
It was just a really lovely feeling, yeah. And can I have this? Do you have Facebook? Yeah, I'll go and get some Facebook. Do you have? Yeah, and it's just beautiful. It's
Yeah,
really
I love it
special.
too. It's really
Yeah.
it's quite special when a child comes running up to you, isn't it?
Yeah. No,
So now we've got all that distraction of that noise in the background. So maybe we'll complete this part and we can do a second part with Jackie another day. Part 2. This is recorded at Jackie's home at the Grove. This is part 2 of the podcast with Jackie, and we are here at the beautiful Grove on this incredibly beautiful, misty, magical, rainy January.
How unusual.
I love it. I love this weather so much. So, Jackie, I thought today I really wanted to start with something that you had shared with me a while ago, and you've said you don't really share this with many people, but now everybody's going to know. And it's a spiritual name that you have, and I believe it's called Ananta Rupa. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the meaning of that name and how that name came to you?
Well, I used to be a counsellor in all the TAFE colleges that later turned to universities. But one of my students there, I won't mention her name, she was absolutely smitten by my counselling classes, right? And then I did an encounter group. And then they came here and they all slept here as an encounter group. And they had to do drawings as in their past life and what they were. And she just, as an amazing artist, said, I'm going to draw a picture of you. And she said to me, we all have spiritual names, what's yours? And I said, my name is the Ananta Rupa, the lady with the light. And she drew that picture of me leading the way into the light. And that's a photo up there as Ananta Rupa, not Jackie, as Ananta Rupa, my spiritual name.
So it's that name really captures your essence.
Yeah, I think the shaman gave it to me. I can't even remember. It was so long ago.
Serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're just remembering now the essence of the meaning of that
Yeah,
name.
yeah, the lady leading the way with
Leading
the lamp.
the way with the light.
Yeah.
Well, because this podcast series has got to do with women's stories of transformation, and what you shared in part 1 of the podcast was the trauma and the pain and the suffering and the way that you began life as a very early child in the support of your father, and that set you on this quest for life. I'd like to capture that very essence of... Well, I want to use somebody's words. They're not my words. They belong to Dr. Clarissa Piccola Estes, where she's an author and a storyteller, and she speaks about living in atrocities aftermath. And there's an atrocity that's happened within your family, possibly 80 years ago, and how you now, with this beautiful name, Ananta Rupa, the carrier of the light, how you continue to carry the light of the beauty of that soul that's led you here where you are now. What is it about you? What is it that's driven you through all the different shape-shiftings and all the different roles that you've played in your life? And I believe one was a hairdresser, and we'll talk about that soon, and one was counsellor, mother, all of that. What is it in you that has sought to bring the light into other people's lives, recognising the original abandonment, that original trauma?
That's where it came from.
It came from
because my original trauma, I split from me to be there for my family and for my dad. So with no me, I was there for everybody else, forever. And that's where it started from. So when I'm running an encounter group and a counsellor, I'm only tuning into other people. And this woman drew the me as I only led the way, but there was... My name, Jackie, wasn't there. That other name, Ananta Rupa, was there. And that was the journey that I went on, and I'm still on, for other people to share, to be here for other people. And then my mother, who I told you, said that I was too dumb and stupid to do anything but hairdressing because I'm dyslexic. And that's when I was You know the story about me going with a friend who was counselling at a Blacktown college, and the teacher never turned up, and the headmistress ran into the class and said, "You've got to go into that class with the teacher hasn't turned up." And I go into the class. I go, "I can't. I'm a hairdresser. I can't go into a class of 50 women all screaming, 'Where's the teacher?'" And I walk in and I am absolutely shitting myself. And I walk into the class. And I go, "What's going on in here?" The teacher, they're all swearing. And I said, why are you all upset? "Oh, we've been given this letter." And I go, "Well, tell me what the letter." "We can't read. What is the letter?" "Give me one of the letters." I take the letter in my hand and I read the letter and I go, "Why are they having trouble reading this letter?" So I say to them, "Would you just underline the words you don't understand?" And there's silence all over the letter, and underlining and underlining and underlining. I'm thinking, what are they doing? I say, "Give me back one of the letters when you're finished. I want to see what you've underlined." And the first word I see is, "Why have you underlined the word parent?" "What does parent mean?" I go, "It just means mum and dad." I go, "Why they write mum?" Anyway, the whole letter went like that. The teacher never turned up. So now they asked me to come back to teach communications to this group. Right, now I get a reputation. Now I'm at Blacktown, I'm at Liverpool, I'm at Campbelltown, I'm at Randwick, I'm at all the bloody TAFE colleges that turn into universities, right? So I'm at the university is Windsor, and the headmistress said, "Jackie, look, the students love you. You know, you're a fabulous teacher, but you need more than a hairdressing qualification."
Can I just pause you there for a moment? So how interesting. That was an unexpected, total destiny moment, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Just flung at you.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah. Totally.
And that's what's led you onto your journey for the studying of counselling?
Yes, it did, because the lecturer at Windsor University, Windsor, said to me, "Jackie, the students love you. You're a fabulous lecturer." I was teaching communications. "But you know what? We're a university. You need more than a hairdressing qualification." I said, "Well, Mavis, you know I'm dyslexic. I can't write." So she gave me a tape recorder. And they fast-tracked me all the way through to masters, because I love the content. So I read the content, and so I got the master's degree. But I would have gone on to PhD, but my sister died of breast cancer, and I gave up from that moment. But that's
What I'm getting from this story is that you were really relatable to the women in that space, and you've got that little bit of that Cockney accent, which is not the language of the dame, but the language of the everyday person, and made everybody feel at ease. Yeah. Let's go a little bit back into that name. Earlier, before we started recording, we spoke about the name, and you spoke about the karma pathway. Do you want to expand a little bit up on that?
I knew in a spiritual way that Spirit told me that I would have a path, that I would choose my destiny, complete my past karma, and in the process I would end up, but I would forget what I had chosen on the way. So I landed with the karma of my father's stuff, and born in London, born on the bombing. Did I tell you that my mother said, "I'm playing on the rubble in the streets of London"? I'm 7 years old. Mum said, "If you hear a ticking, it's not a clock, it's an undisclosing bomb." Yeah. So anyway, that's how it started. So then I was kind of wary and told everybody in the neighbourhood, "You can't play on the rubble anymore." And people were walking around with one arm, one leg, and people were crippled because of the bombings in London. So that was as far up from the story of my father. But the name was connected to me now telling people to be cautious, to be aware, and leading the way to tell them to be safe. So that was the original karmic journey that I didn't connect for a long time.
Well, a couple of things I want to respond to in what you've just said. One of them is, it's quite amazing, and I know, to be able to put your ego on hold in this lifetime so that you can be of service to others through the transformation of this story. It's quite incredible, and I know it's hard to see in oneself when people reflect, holding that mirror back, but that's what I see that you've done, and you've stayed very relatable. But I also, what was the other thing I picked up on? Imagine to be a child and to playing on the earth, on the ground, in the form of rubble, that the earth is, the very substance of where you're walking is under threat. But then you look now at where you are now on this extraordinary, beautiful land that you and Prof have come and cared
kangaroos
for
jumping.
and nurtured so beautifully, and giving people the complete opposite experience, which is safety on the earth. You even take away the bindi so people can walk on the ground. And I believe your abandonment story, that's the template you use when you work with people. Is that correct?
The abandonment issue.
Abandonment.
Well, the abandonment for me is everybody's karma. We are all, this is my belief, it doesn't mean it's a fact or true, that every single one of us has abandonment issues, and it usually comes from the day we are taking off our mother's breasts. At that moment, we no longer have the comfort. It's like, okay, so we cry. Somebody I know was just crying. Where's mummy? Where's mummy? Where's mummy? Why am I not there anymore? I go, mummy had to go to work now. So that was the first, that's our original abandonment, besides, all little different details, but and it's usually around the age of 4 or 5 that the abandonment sets in. And for the rest of our life, we're making sure we've got strong connections with family, with friends, with people, with work, so that we never feel alone. We've got to have friends. But there are some people that need to be alone. That I don't understand that. Like Profth. He loves to be alone, but he grew up alone.
How interesting that the two of you have come together in that way with your, the differences that you do have as your own particular people, but coming together with this common vision. Can we talk a little bit about that common vision and where you first met Profth?
Oh, yeah, God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I was at Confest.
Yeah.
And there were, in those days, Confest was like, I don't know, about 40,000 people. They were huge.
I remember them. What year was it?
Yeah. Oh, God, must have been about 84 or something.
Okay.
And I had my 2 young boys with me, Darren and Rodney. And so we were all in little groups. And we all had little campfires. And around our campfire was this absolute man who looked like my daddy. He had red hair and a little goatee beard, and he was gentle. And I found out his name was Profth, as in the professor, but Ken Kesey changed it to Profth instead of the Prof. Anyway, so I knew him as Profth. I didn't even know his name. And so one day I'm sitting by the fire, and I just looked at him, and he wasn't with anybody, and I wasn't with anybody because I divorced their father. Anyway, that's another story. And I said to Profth, you know what, Profth? I'm going to keep you. And he never argued with me. It was hilarious. He kind of like looks at me like, yeah, right. Anyway, and so he never drove. So I drove him home because he lived in Ryde, and I drove him there. And for years, Darren and Rodney used to say, Mum kept the hitchhiker she picked up.
Amazing. And just for those that have never met Jackie, Jackie's still a very beautiful and stunning woman, and track back to 1984, she was bloody amazing, just gorgeous. You look at all those lovely old photos.
All those old photos. Yeah. It's so funny because someone told me when I was about 7, they said, do you know you're really beautiful looking, your hair, made a hair, be a hairdresser, like. And I said to them, if I'm beholden of my looks now, what will I have when I get older, when I don't have them?
You already were a philosophical
I said
thinker.
that then.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's like, well, yeah, because when you're old, but I remember saying that to them at that age, and I must have been about 14 or something,
Yeah.
And there's a photo of me, and that's why I became the hairdresser, because I looked so good, my hair was so good, and the hairdresser told me I was a hairdresser from hell, which I was. Oh, my God, I was a terrible hairdresser. Anyway, you know what he did? he made me the receptionist. This is in Maroubra. And you know what he did? He told everybody I had this $45 perm. I never told him it was natural, so he's making a fortune out of my hair.
You were the front lady.
I was the front lady. And then he had me on the reception because he knew I'd talk to everybody. And he said to me, Jackie, the till never adds up. And I looked at him, he goes, yeah, but we know you're not taking it because it's either under or over. So we know you're dyslexic and, anyway. So that was another story. He kept me there for a long time. But anyway, that's another story.
Well, I wanted to ask you, you ended up at Confest, but how did you flip from being a hairdresser into an alternative lifestyle person?
I think that was when I left the kid's father. I felt like I can't go to art class, can't go to yoga, you're home. And I just thought, I've got to leave this space.
Can I just backtrack a little bit?
Yeah.
Are you saying that you couldn't express yourself in the things you wanted to do?
I had to be housewife. In those days, when was it, 1970 something?
Right.
Women were only to be at home. And I had a friend who said, why don't you come to yoga club? Not yoga, art classes, or why don't you come out with us to do this? And my father-in-law then says, your job is to be the housewife. You stay home and you be the housewife. And I just thought, there is no way, I can't do this. I need to go out. Anyway, somehow I met somebody who was living up near Nimbin, Terania Creek.
Oh, okay.
So they said, well, why don't you come up on holiday with us? So I think then I took the kids, or it must have been a school holiday, and I went up there to live just visit them. I'm still friends with Sarah, who rigs me all the time, and we have a chat about that. So I moved into a community up there. And then I took the kids up with me, but their father put a caveat on me that I couldn't take the boys away. So I left the boys with their father. And I thought, there's no way I'm going back. So I lived up in Nimbin, Terania Creek, or Darmanunda, for a few years. You want to know a little story?
Go.
All the way up and down, we actually belonged to a group called Bugger Up, which would build your boards using graffitis against unhealthy promotions.
Hang on, let's slow down a little bit. So, okay.
And then,
hang on. So Bugger Up was an organisation that really basically buggered up the advertising signs along the freeways and on
mostly
buildings.
for cigarettes.
For cigarettes at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was buggering up, and Darren and Rodney, Tiny, were putting scribbles on them, writing cancer on them, and we'd put spray paint all over these. Anyway, I was living up in the community, Darmanunda, and one day one of the girls said to me, the cops keep looking for you. They're coming from Lismore. You need to find out what they want. So I went into Lismore and I said, I think you're looking for me. And they said, yes, you're under arrest. And I went, why? They said, because you didn't pay your fine for malicious damage. So I said, what do you want me to stay here now? And they go, yes. So they locked me in jail. So I'm in this little lock-up. And you know what happened? It was so funny. Every night, the detectives took me to parties out the back. I'm like 25, and the police in the front never knew. Anyway, I had a really good time, and one of them said to me, look, Jackie, you've got too many visitors. There's like 25 people standing out the front want to visit you. Can you limit the amount of visitors you have? Like, duh. So, anyway, that was my story of my jail.
So
And it's on my passport.
oh my goodness,
Yeah.
is it?
Yeah.
You've got a record.
Yeah.
So let's just go back to that community experience for
yeah.
you. What was that like for you, being like a city hairdresser, having this experience on a community? What was that like?
It was amazing. The people were so lovely to me. And I couldn't do all the jobs they did, but I said to them, I will do the dishes. I won't ever cook, because everybody took turns cooking. I don't cook, but every single night I'll do the dishes. So every night they all sat around the kitchen and we all had these big community meetings while I did the dishes. So that became a really bonding community. And it was nice. There's a whole long story about that one.
So
it's
in
nice.
a way, that's really seeded what happens here, isn't it? Being
I've
together
never cooked.
with community
Yeah.
and the sharing and the clearing and
still never cooking.
Yeah, because cooking takes a particular kind of focus,
Yeah,
because I
yeah.
notice your focus needs to be
ADHD.
around. And
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're actually doing the washing up and checking in on community, you can be fully present to the vibration and the needs of
Others,
the
yeah.
whole community.
Yeah,
That's what
yeah.
you're
I'm
really, really good
scanning
at.
to see.
You're
Well, that
scanning.
comes from the war years to make sure everybody's safe.
Yeah.
So that's an
yeah,
outcome of a post-traumatic stress, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Jackie, this might be a big one. How was that with the separating of your children? How did you reconcile that for yourself?
I never did, and I never have. And I used to
Okay.
fly them up every couple of weeks, and I've never got over that. It's still the trauma in my life that I left my kids. But I've bonded with Darren now. Darren comes here. He works at the Grove. He does all the. He's an avionic engineer. He does all the lighting. And he's got the boat, and I go and help him on the boat when I can. So we've bonded. But I have still got that stress inside me that I've never forgiven myself.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's part of my karma.
And yet, had you not gone on that journey,
I wouldn't be here.
You wouldn't be here to do
I
what
wouldn't
you're
have met
doing
Profth.
here now. Yeah.
You know, another funny little story. I'm going out with Profth, right? And I'm this Jewish princess from Bondi at Confest, right? So I've got shaved legs and manicured nails and eyebrows. And I was going out with Profth one day, and I said, Profth, do you mind if I stop shaving my legs? And he looks at me and goes, do you know you come in a perfect package?
Aww.
And
That's pretty sexy.
That was
That's really lovely.
so beautiful. It was like, yep. So I
Yeah.
stopped. So from that moment, I felt like I'd become a hippie. You know, I got out of nylon. I stopped doing my nails. I let my hair grow, and it was like that's the alternative lifestyle that he taught me. It was beautiful. So that was the beginning of that journey of being alternative, being a hippie, and coming here. And that was Profth showing me the way.
That's so beautiful.
Does this all make sense?
It
Like,
does,
yeah.
doesn't it? It's like
it's all
there's a real
vignettes.
You can sort of see like the stepping stones that have brought you from those early stories back in London with all of that debris and the what do you call it? The fulfillment of a karmic journey that began. The quest, rather, that
Yeah.
began in that moment with you taking on that responsibility for your father,
Yeah.
and then journeying into your life to find yourself in a situation where you can be a community holder, guide, elder for an enormous community of people.
And came out to Australia as a 10-pound pommy.
You did, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Australia was asking for people to come from England to this country. And Dad said, we're going to Australia. And it was like, so we were 10-pound pommies, and we came on the first boat that took the English people, the pommies there.
The Fair Star.
The Fair Sky it was. It's the Fair Star of the Fair Sky. But this is where I kind of got a trauma. We're going through the Suez Canal. The captain came over to me, my father, and he said, John, we're going through the Suez Canal. You must keep your back to the wall. And that's why I think my trauma of never letting anybody sit behind me came from.
Do you want to describe why he said that? To keep your back to the wall?
Because they knew that the Jewish people, if they recognised them, were stabbed or killed. This is what I think. I don't know, I've just made that up. But keep your back to the wall so you're safe. So nobody ever goes behind me. If I sit down, I kind of... It's a total neurosis there, you know? Of that, don't sit behind me, please.
Yeah, because you need to feel that stability behind you and that safety behind you so you can be fully present to, that radar that you have to check in on people.
Yeah.
And...
there's another one. Got to have fresh air.
The fresh air.
Because we had to, when the bombings were coming over London, we had to go down to our coal cellars underground. There was no air coming in. So that was
makes
another.
So much sense.
I see all these things are coming into place. Anyway.
It's amazing. No, I see it too. When you want to get, when you stay in the different places in the caravans, you need the window open.
Yeah, but that's where it comes from, being in an air raid shelter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Something that can be quite scary for us all, especially in this eldering space and getting older, is this fear of dementia. And the idea of eldership seems to be slipping away and becoming replaced by this idea of dementia. And a lot of people have a lot of fear around it. Now, I believe, Jackie, that you've been diagnosed. Is that correct?
Well, my father had Alzheimer's, really seriously. So he was in the Montefiore home. And this is just a little side story.
Yeah.
He looked at me one day when I was with my sister, and he says to me, "Is that my sister or my cousin?" And I said, "No, Daddy, that's your daughter." And then I realised. And then one day I'm in Maroubra where I was living, and he drove over to my house because we'd always have Sunday lunch together, breakfast together. And I said, "Dad, you're still driving?" And he said to me, "Yeah," he said, "I don't have trouble driving." He said, "But I never can remember to stop at the red or the green." And I was like, "Daddy, your car needs fixing." So I took the keys off him and said to Daddy, "The car's gone to the auto thing, I'll drive you home." And he never even remembered he had a car after that. Anyway, this is about me. So I was part of the program. I don't know whether it was called the SMART program or whatever, where people were getting tested for their brains. And so you go to do the MRI, and he said to me, Professor Brodati at Prince of Wales said to me, "You have minor dementia happening." And it was like, that's interesting. I didn't know that. I know that the part of my memory is maps on the road and nouns I lose. And someone said to me, I don't know, I went to a counsellor after that to see what I could do. And they said to me, as long as you eat well, stay off your sugar and carbs, and keep very, very active and good diet, you will stay healthy. And that was like 30 years ago. So I've still lost my maps, I've still lost my nouns, but I'm still doing fucking cartwheels. I'm still digging the garden. I'm sorry.
And you can still pull out, the
lantana.
Yes.
You know how I pull out the lantana? Yeah. Do you know that one?
How do you do it?
So we find the big lantana along because it was totally covered. So I crawl under the lantana bushes, which is so not comfortable, and I take a rope with a chain and hook on it. So I take the rope, dig underneath it, hook the roots of it onto the chain, and Profth in the tractor, and we pull them all out. And we've done every bit of lantana with me climbing under.
Oh my God, Jackie, that is such a great metaphor.
I love it
for the actual. Dementia aspect as well. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like hooking that and pull that out, and keeping yourself healthy. So that's inspiring for others. Do you have a fear around it? Of the dementia? Does that?
I do have a fear about it. I think, what am I going to do? I don't want to carry on. I don't want to stay alive in a nursing home. I don't want my kids to have to pay for me to go to the Montefiore home, which will take everything I've got. Not that I've got much. I do not want to. I'm happy to die. I've done my life. I do not want to be put into a nursing home. I do not want to be looked after. I mean, I don't mind being in a nursing home if I can do the gardening or if I can do volunteer work. But I do not want to be like my father, who had to be, nappy changed or whatever. I don't want that.
Yeah, and you don't. It sounds like what you're saying there is you don't want to be a burden.
I don't want to be a burden to my family, no. Yeah. Especially at one of those nursing homes that will take all the money. I want to leave them some money. Not that I've got much of being on a pension, but I don't want to be a burden to them, and I'm not sure how to deal with that one. That's the conundrum at the moment.
That's a lot of my work is to do with conscious eldering, and it's really good to make conscious all of these fears that we do have about becoming old and older, and also to need care and what that might look like and what our fears are around it.
Stories.
So many stories. And where are you at now? Like, you're coming up now. It's your birthday soon. You'll be...
Year off 80. I'm 79.
You'll be 79.
And
you have another really big challenge before you now, in that your partner is... is unwell.
Yeah.
But I hesitate to say that word, because when I'm with him, he is a well person.
You know what, 4 years ago, the doctor gave him a year to live.
Yeah.
Do you know how well he is now? And you know what I think? He's on colloidal silver. I have no idea he makes it, what he's done to his body, but he's totally back into chainsawing. He's doing the digging. He's got the most beautiful veggie garden.
Oh, the veggies are beautiful.
I know.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happened.
And how are you taking that journey now with that possibility that's there of his well, we haven't actually mentioned that illness on the podcast. Maybe
No.
it's not something that we need to do.
Well, he's got prostate cancer that metastasised.
Okay.
Yeah. But so what was that question for?
Well, the question was, and it's something that I feel too in my own relationship, is, you know, as we're getting older now, we're very, and especially two people that work together in care, that one of us is going to go.
Well, that's what I thought.
And I'm just wondering how that.
Yeah, I thought I can't live at the Grove. There's no way I could live here by myself. I can't pump up the water. I can't start the tractor. All the stuff at the Grove. I thought I'm going to have to live somewhere else. And it was right near the family, or they all lived in Coogee and Clovelly and Randwick. So I bought the tiniest little cheap unit, 1 bedroom in Carrington Road, Coogee, now worth a couple of million. And I moved everything. I moved out. So so half my clothes are still there, and that was like 18 years ago. So I live in 2 homes now. So
in a way,
I
what I'm
babysit
getting
them.
is
Yeah,
you're living in a state of conscious impermanence.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
correct?
exactly.
And you've got some strategy there for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's quite scary, but I tend to be in the moment of digging, doing the land, digging the garden, driving the tractor. I'm on the ride-on, doing the lantana. I love it. Every day we're busy. We have so many visitors coming in, and but when I go, like next week, I'm going to the dentist in Coogee. Then I've got all the grandkids to spend time with, and the family is all there. So I've got a community, community there too.
Another world.
Yeah, and a lot of the Grovies meet me there.
Yeah, that's really lovely.
Yeah.
So there's a continuity
Yeah,
for you there.
yeah.
And there's a support network for you
Yeah,
there.
and swimming in the sea I love, and anyway. Yeah. So there's both lives.
Well, the Grove is such a healing place, such a sanctuary of connection for so many people, and including myself and my family. The memories, in the end, everything is just about memories, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And it's about the vibration that you bring up on the land.
Yeah.
And what I experience here on this land, Darkinjung Darug land, is that we can't undo all the traumas of the past, but yet the space that you hold here brings people from so many different nationalities together in a space of non-judgment, in a space where humans can remember how to really be human together in a really good way, which is coming together around the fire,
sharing food,
to share the food, to share stories, to be held and witnessed, and
doing workshops.
You've been a great inspiration for us for our property. Very much so. Very much so.
Wow.
So I want to thank you, Jackie.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for today, and thank you for all the things that you have done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time to listen. It blows me away how out of the rubble of great tragedy emerges these women who show up with a deep strength where love not only guides the way, but they become way showers for others. Recording these amazing women is close to my heart, and I'm so grateful to have captured Jackie's vitality. I hope she inspires you as much as she inspires us that know her.